Good, good. The meeting is now being recorded, so you're on record, folks, as you participate. And as you might be aware, the focus of this meeting is going to be a global focus. So we're welcoming, hopefully, people in from a number of different regions in the world. And we're going to see what's going on around the world. And people have specific questions or ideas or suggestions. Those are the type of things we're going to be really interested in. If you've just come in, let us know in the chat where you're coming from, so we can have a good idea of where everybody is at. All right, great. Shout out to New Orleans. New Orleans.
Betsy, where are you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that helps, doesn't it? I am actually currently in Pennsylvania.
Where?
Central Pennsylvania, and I live at Tiny Estates, which is a very large tiny house community in central Pennsylvania. In fact, as I look out my window, I see probably about 20 tiny houses, so I have a great view.
Awesome. Great. Are you there legally?
Oh yeah, this community is a part of a municipality, and it's been welcomed with open arms. And it was a resort community for short-term rentals, and it's transitioning now into a resident-owned tiny houses site. The property is still owned by the original owners. So we're in transition at this point.
Awesome.
Yeah, great. Got more people coming in. Let us know where everybody's from. And also, especially if you're from a place where it's a crazy time because you're overseas, let us know that, and so we can include you sooner rather than later, so you can go to bed, or anybody that has a time constraint. If you have something you'd like to contribute and you have a time constraint, you have to leave, let us know, and we'll be sure to work you in earlier rather than later. All right. We have Aruba, we have Iowa, we have Oregon. San Diego. Great. Everybody I hope your tech is doing okay. I think a lot of us are familiar with a little, maybe more familiar with Zoom. There's Loretta. Hey, Loretta.
Hello, hello. Happy Thursday.
Yep. And we have Olaf from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Great. Got a good representation. We're going to wait about 2 more minutes, and I think, yeah, I think some of our leaders are going to come in, perhaps. I'm not sure, Portland, Oregon. I'm not sure if that's Lindsay or possibly some of the tiny house community, Jason or Jason, Loretta, help me. Jason, or I just went completely blank. Senior moment.
Could be
Zach,
Zach.
isn't it Zach?
Zach, the Jason and Zach Francis brothers. Yes, there you go.
We're here. Can you see us?
There you guys are. Yeah.
How's it going? Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for doing the little prelude, Betsy.
See a lot of familiar
Okay.
faces.
Yeah.
Hey, Betsy, Loretta. Hey, Brian.
We got Bill. We got Jody. Got a lot of people on there. It's great. Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks, everybody. It literally just turned 3 o'clock over here, so we're good to get going. We're excited for this month's meetup. We're really excited that Betsy's actually going to be doing quite a bit of the global, bringing everybody together, coordinating some cool initiatives there, and seeing how everybody's, an update on all the different regions, which is great. We're really excited about that as well. And also, thanks for working with us. We're on Zoom. There's a lot of pros to being on Zoom because it's a little bit easier for everybody to join. But we also have a little bit less control on this back end on Zoom of being able to, manipulate the things that we need to make happen and so on. And we're not as comfortable with Zoom. So
Yeah, we thought we'd try it out for the community meeting and see how it goes.
yeah, one of the biggest feedbacks was basically that people couldn't jump into the round tables with a mobile phone. So
On Run the World, that
on
was.
Run the World. So hopefully this will, solve that issue. So
Yeah, and just so you all know, we are recording this as well. So if you do need to hop out or miss a certain part of it, we'll be posting this in the Tiny House community, which Zach can drop a link to right here. And you'll be able to catch anything you miss.
Yep. We're not positive how well the recording of the breakout rooms will go on Zoom here, but I guess
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
You should drop that membership page too.
Cool.
Yeah, and lastly, just a small, quick reminder too, if anyone wants to join the Tiny House membership, you can do that with the link that Zach's posting right there. That gets you access to, of course, all these type of meetups, the Global Tiny House Conference, and some workshops that happen throughout the year, as well as some exclusive spaces within the community too, to kind of network in that ways. So, and of course that helps us out a lot as well. Running tinyhouse.com is close to a full-time job. And so being able to compensate a little bit of that for us to keep working hard and to be able to set down our hammers at times and be able to pour into this community is something we want to keep doing. So every membership helps us do that. So we really appreciate your guys' support in that way. We have amazing members in there, and yeah, really appreciate that. Thank you guys.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the online community growing. It seems like every single week there's more and more kind of action in the different spaces and people jumping back to posts from the past and giving updates and all that. It's pretty cool to see how it's growing.
Very cool. Yeah, got more and more people coming in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Any other housekeeping, and then we can pass it off to Betsy.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's anything else on our end. And I know Betsy's got a lot to cover, and we want to also save time for the breakout rooms as well. So Betsy, we can hand it off to you if you're ready.
Definitely. Thank you. Everybody that's come in, if you haven't posted where you are, let us all know. We got people from a number of different places in the States, and we got some people from overseas. And again, if you have to leave, especially if you're overseas at a crazy time trying to fit this in, let us know, and we'll be sure to get you in earlier rather than later. This is a global focus meeting. So if you have specific questions, which some of you might be bringing specific questions about your tiny house planning or your dreaming or your designing or legality or all those other things we often talk about, if you could save those questions. I'm imagining for the next half hour or so, we're going to be focusing on global. And then we'll start looking at who's here and how you would like to work on the, breakout into breakout sessions or however we want to do that, okay? We weren't sure what the profile of the meeting would be, so we're going to get a good idea of that in the next, 20 minutes. I know people are going to be coming and going too. So let me introduce myself real quickly. I've been with the community since the first global conference, which I think was about 1.5 years ago in April of 2020. It's been an exciting year with a number of conferences and some great community building. And my focus in my day job is international, and I do global consulting. I have a tiny house subsidiary to my business, which is called Tiny Circles. And so I'm helping with this community also, just kind of seeing what's out there around the world and helping people connect and talking about how we can support the global tiny house movement and tiny house living. So that's where this kind of idea came from for this type of meeting. What we've done is in the community, you might, and we're not going to try to go back and forth and screen sharing and all that. We're just going to look at each other's beautiful faces and enjoy each other's company. Okay. So you can find this stuff on the community site. One question for my tech folks, is the chat going to be saved as well? Do you guys know?
That's something that we don't have extensive experience with.
You have to save it.
You can save it.
Yeah, you can save it. If you're recording, it'll automatically save it.
Okay.
If anybody wants to have the chat, they have to save it separately.
Okay.
Okay, great.
And when you do the breakout rooms, it does not record the breakout rooms.
And it probably doesn't.
Okay.
It's not there either.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Marilyn. That's great. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. We have in our community 14 different designated regions at this point around the world. At our conferences, the 3 conferences so far, we've had anywhere from 50 to 75, sometimes more countries represented. So we've got people from all over the world who are buzzing into this community and being interested in participating in the discussion of both tiny house building, the actual structures, and then also the communities. So for our regions, we have 4 from the United States, kind of east, west, north, south type thing. And then we also have a Canada region. And we've got somebody here from our Ontario, so heads up to Ontario. I'm going to ask you in just about 1 minute to maybe share a little bit. But then as we move to our other regions, we've got regions for Asia. We have a separate region for India. We've got South Pacific. And then we have Africa. And we have several European regions. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm not seeing any representatives directly from Europe right now, but I do have input from our some of our European folks that I'm going to share. We have Caribbean. I see Aruba there. So Aruba, we're going to ask you to touch base in a minute as well. We have Australia, New Zealand, and Tasmania. And I see Israel. So we also have Middle East, which is great. And when you try to put a meeting like this together, I mean, did you guys know that France has 12 time zones? I think they win the prize for a country with the number of time zones. Like, oh my gosh, how can any place have 12 time zones? Anyway, that to say that it's a little bit tricky to get everybody on here, at one fell swoop. Our French friend Guillaume. It was 3 in the morning when I talked to him about 2 hours ago. So he's like, I think I have to go to bed now. Sorry. So anyway, okay. And listen, if you have any questions, or especially if you can't hear me, please, like immediately, if I disappear, put that in the chat, and can somebody else pick it up, Loretta maybe, or somebody, and just, kind of continue to ask our folks, from our different regions. So let's go back then, and I think we're going to start with Canada. We've got Arlene from Canada. Arlene, can you unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about Ontario, what's going on in the tiny house movement there, and what your particular participation is. Do we have Arlene with us? Okay, Arlene might have stepped out. I'm not seeing her in the gallery. So, all right, so we will move on and we'll come back to Canada. No worries. Hopefully people can unmute themselves. If you need help with that, just type it in the chat and we'll have people help you. Let's go to Australia. Let's go kind of other side of the world. Sydney, Australia, we've got Will Halliday. Will, are you there? Okay.
Jesse's on mute. Are you able to unmute Will?
Can you unmute Will? Do you see a small microphone down in the corner of your screen somewhere?
His family is sleeping, so he may not be able to chat with us.
No problem. Okay. All right, let's do it this way. Anybody who is outside the United States, if you would like to unmute yourself, and we'll start with your region. How about that?
Well, this is Patrick from Latin America. I'm not sure if we have a region officially in your group, but
You absolutely do, Patrick. We have a Latin American region. Where are you in Latin America?
today I'm calling from Panama City in Panama. But we have a company, Eco Villages and ECI Development, that does tiny eco-sustainable communities in many of the countries in Central and South America, from Belize, Panama, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Mexico, soon to be Salvador because of the cryptocurrency accepted in El Salvador, and Argentina as well. So.
Very cool. Well, tell us, I know that you've also been profiled and also presented at one of our, or two of our conferences. So can you tell us a little bit about how these eco villages got started, and also what some of your initiatives are right now?
Sure. My son and I own a company called Eco Villages, and we do design for the company called ECI Development, and ECI Development really builds the communities, and we do the design. Many years ago, we lived on a sailboat, and lived out on the water, and you can't have a long extension cord out to your sailboat. So we learned a lot about being eco-friendly, generating our own power, conserving water, creating potable water through osmosis and all those things. And, the ultimate tiny home is probably a boat. So, they're always, sailboats especially, are very finitely designed for, every square inch being made use of. So when we did that for a few years, and then decided, it'd be nice to take that to land. And this was in Vancouver Island in Canada. My son and I are from Canada, but now I live in Nicaragua, Panama, Belize, so kind of throughout the region here. And so if there's any silver lining, I guess, to COVID, we got locked in an apartment for a few months and started designing what we call TESS communities, tiny eco-sustainable communities. And we created one, and first one was actually in Nicaragua on the Pacific coast, right on the beach, beautiful beach area there. Surfers love it. And, Nicaragua is kind of an undiscovered Central American country, but it's one of, people don't realize this, but it's one of the safest. And, it's got all the beauty of Costa Rica, but with probably a 1/5 of the cost. So we designed a community there called Ava, Eco Village Asachillo. The beach next door is called Asachillo. And it's right on the beach. And that was kind of our first foray into it a couple of years ago. And we had a quick webinar and didn't know exactly whether it would be accepted. And there's 100 homes in there, and it was sold out almost during the webinar. So it was amazing, the desire for tiny tiny homes. We're not eco fanatics. We call ourselves eco sensible. You know, it's got to make financial sense as well. But fortunately, you know, in the tropics down here, we have some beautiful places and lots of sunlight. So, you know, it's easy to get solar power. And so that particular community is off grid completely. And then we have other ones, and we have actually over the water ones, like kind of the Tahiti style, on an island in the Caribbean, in Belize, and one near a volcano in Boquete in Panama here, which is why I'm here right now. And so they're spread throughout the region, but we're really, you know, becoming the de facto tiny home group, I guess, in this Latin American region. And not to sound like a commercial, but that's kind of how it got going. So.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm sorry. Apparently my voice is super loud. I usually have sound problems that people can't hear me. So I've tried to put it down a little bit. And I don't know if it was me typing or someone else, but if you're not talking, could you mute yourself? And then hopefully, is my sound a little bit more sustainable? I don't want, you know, to drive everybody crazy. If you can just give me an idea of that in the chat, that would be good. It's still too loud. All right. Sorry about that. I'm not exactly sure how I can reduce it, except not talk as loudly, maybe. Okay. I have just turned my sound down on my computer too. Okay.
Can I make a suggestion to
All
everybody?
right.
I turned down my volume, if that helps. Betsy,
Okay.
I know you're a little loud, but I turned down my volume. That seems to have done the trick.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Annie. Appreciate it. All right, good. As long as we're in the Caribbean, we also have someone who just came in, I believe, from Costa Rica, was it? Let's see. Yes, Costa Rica, Ava. Ava in Costa Rica, would you like to add your view of the Caribbean to what Patrick has shared? What are your tiny activities there in Costa Rica?
I think, okay, so this is Sammy Maselli. I do live in a tiny home. I am located in Canada. I just purchased a tiny home in Canada. No, I actually was just commenting on what Patrick was saying about his project in Costa Rica, and he mentioned that the name was called Ava.
Yes, sorry, Ava is actually in Nicaragua.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Very
Great.
I would love to hear more about this project. Well, more projects related to Latin America. I'm an Argentinian Canadian who just got back from Argentina after spending a year and a half due to COVID. And now I'm back on Canadian soil. I grew up in Canada, but I was born in Argentina, and I just embarked on the tiny house world. Currently, my house is located in Qualcomm Beach, British Columbia, beautiful West Coast, North America. But very excited, well, to be here and to join you here, and also to hear more about what the tiny house world is all about. It's so exciting. I'm really loving the experience so far.
Thank you so much. And they've just posted in the chat some of more information on the eco villages. There are several recordings from past conferences too that you can check out. So very good. So let's move now. If we don't have anybody else, if we have somebody else in the Caribbean area, Latin America, Central America, if you'd like to speak up, go ahead. Otherwise, we're going to move a little bit to the east.
Hi, this is Michael. I'm from Aruba. I just wanted to say hi. I'm first time here and just trying to get as much information already. Patrick gave us a lot of nice stuff with the eco villages. So I'm thinking of a project in the future, working on that. So it looks like a great group to get a lot of information here from you guys. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Michael. All right. Is anything? Oh,
Hi,
can I
this is
just ask Michael real quick? Is there anything going on tiny house wise in Aruba that you know of, Michael?
There's some individual projects. I mean, tiny house is something that, you know, it's everywhere. You know, you see it, you know, on the TV, on the website. So there's people doing that, but it's basically you know, people just doing it by themselves. I'm not sure they're connected to a community and you know, getting to know the best practices, you know. So it's basically I'm also interested in doing something like this, but I'm looking to not make the same mistakes other people made, and get a lot of the information on the best practices on doing this. So I like to do my research before I get my hands, you know, busy with the project. So it's basically still in planning, but I'm looking to do a little bit with Patrick, maybe smaller scale eco resort with tiny home components. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk really quietly. Someone else just said I was too loud. So trying to scale that down a little bit. Because if I turn my volume down, then I can't hear everybody else. So it's a little bit challenging. But someone else was going to talk, I think, from the Caribbean. Do we have someone else?
Yes, this is Bo. I live on Bonaire. And for me, it's also the first time that I'm here in this group. And we are also I'm developing tiny homes. And yes, I'd like to hear your experiences. Here we have also trying to do it, but we still have some issues. But we keep on trying, and I'd like to hear your experience, about your experience.
Great. Thank you, Bo. Okay. And I'm not going to assume that everybody is a member of the community. You might have gotten on the mailing list some other way, but please join the community and also join the regional groups that you're connected with, because those are going to become more active. And then we can, you know, grow this global community more effectively. So now we're going to go over to the east from Latin America, and we're going to ask if anybody is here representing Africa. We have some members that are in Africa, but I don't see anybody in the chat. So if you'd like to speak up, feel free. I myself am connected and work in West Africa and North Africa, but I don't have any real updates at this point to bring, except that there is interest, and certainly in the future things that will be happening in those areas. We do have a new South Africa member who has been posting on the site. So if you're interested, you can go and look at their stuff. Okay, so now let's go up then into the Middle East. And we have somebody from Israel way back. They posted a few minutes ago. So who is our guest from Israel, our member? Is it Bar?
Yeah, can you hear me or not?
We sure can, yes.
Okay, nice. So hello everybody. I'm Bar from Israel. I'm developing tiny houses that in Israel we have a lot of different rules about it. So it's really hard here. And I'm developing different tiny houses that can actually work even though the rules are so strict.
Very good. Where are you? Are you rural or urban in Israel, Bar?
Again, I didn't hear you.
Are you in the cities or in the countryside there in Israel?
I'm half hour from Tel Aviv, but I'm living in the farm. So it's
Okay.
quite both of them.
Great. Okay. And do you know of anything that's happening in the tiny house movement generally in Israel? Do you have an association or a group yet?
I don't think we have anything. It's really, really new in Israel, all of these things. Caravan, it's getting, all the caravans now are getting more, I don't know how to say it, like more official. But until now, everything was a big mess and everybody did whatever they want and it became pretty ugly.
Ah, okay. All right. Annie has asked if we can ask questions. Absolutely. If you want to ask to the people that are talking from the regions, please. Yes, when they finish, you go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Okay, I'd like to ask the guy from Israel as well as Patrick from Nicaragua. So if you have a tiny house in the US, do you ship your tiny house internationally? Is that possible?
Well, from my standpoint at Eco Villages here in Latin America, it's not really practical. The cost of shipping and importing is really not worth doing. The construction costs in most of Central and South America is much lower than certainly in North America, maybe not other places in the world. Well, lower than Europe, lower than North America, but so we have like beachfront tiny homes starting in the 70,000 range and near Roatan. It's a beautiful diving area, and so I mean it's pretty hard to have something constructed, shipped, and imported into a country and that includes the land. The nice thing about the laws down here is that I know I'm Canadian, so I know being Canadian is the problem is most of the time you have to have your home on wheels. Our tiny homes are concrete. They're going to be there for 1,000 years, and so they're true solid homes, and you get the land and you have title to the land and everything as well. So it's a little different than a lot of places that have a lot of restrictions on tiny homes.
Okay, thank you.
And
Hi.
Bar?
I wanted to ask Bar a question if he's still there.
Bar, you might be muted.
Bar's not muted, so I don't know why. Bar, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. So would it be okay if I ask a question?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, I'll put my hand down in a minute. So, Bar, you made some general statements without giving us the specifics of what the problems and the issues were. You said it was difficult in Israel. You also mentioned caravans, which we associate more with recreational vehicles than with tiny homes. I don't know how much you know about what it's like in the US, but it's very difficult here also. In most places, in most cities, they're still not legal. A lot of people in other countries have the perception that Americans can just build anything they want and put it wherever they want, and that's not true. So what are some of the problems and issues you were referring to?
So
You also mentioned caravans, and by caravan, were you talking about tiny houses or were you talking about RVs?
No, I will talking about more like RVs that now Israel is having more and more of them. Maybe even too much for such a small country, because you can see them everywhere and there are there is no tradition or something like that people know how to act. So you can see someone just park somewhere and start bringing sofa outside and tons of things and just taking the place only to himself. It happens a lot. About the problems, so I will start with the technical problems with the, let's say, if I'm building a tiny house on wheels, because that's the only way to make it kind of legal. So the trailer itself have a lot of the weight that we can have is really, really low. And I need to make a different license if I want something that is more than 1 ton, like 1,000 kilograms. The one that I build is 3,500, sorry. And I needed to have a different license. I need a different car. I need, and this is the highest. There is no more than that. I know that
So-
in United States you can build more.
Well, but they can only do that because they use special trailers that are made to carry more weight. So we have the same issues. You can just carry more weight if you build a special trailer.
So in
Which is
Israel we
more
cannot build
expensive.
those trailers. It's not allowed at
Oh,
all. Like the maximum is 3,500. Then with the height, we cannot build more than 4 meters from the 3 meters from the ground. So that's quite low. The inside maximum can be only 220, 230 maximum.
yeah, those are, so when you say we can only, are those national laws or are those local? Like here, zoning differs from every community to every community. The zoning laws are made and that they can all be different. Are these national laws or local laws?
No, in Israel, everything is national because it's so small. So everything is like all Israel is 500 kilometers. It's super small. So everything is all over. And then we have the other problems that there are almost nowhere to park it. So I have a farm and we have horses and stuff like that. And we put it, and every few, like whenever they want, they just come and they give us, you have 1 week to move. Then you have 3 days to move. The day after, they say, okay, it doesn't matter if you move or not, you got a fine. And the fines they can be huge. If I make it in dollars, I got a fine of $70,000.
So we have the same, parking is not legal in most places in the United States or certainly around any cities. So we have the same, like even my house is on almost an acre, but I would not be allowed, even if I owned my own land, I still would not be able to put a tiny house on my land legally. Are there any places where people can park RVs? We do have RV parks here in some places, and of course you pay to live there. Do you have, are there RV parks where it is legal?
We just start to see them. It's not so common, and usually they take like not really normal price. It's more expensive than to live in the middle of Tel Aviv in a huge apartment. So it doesn't really call people to come. Mostly the people that actually do it, it's people that have problems with the government where they live, and they find the tiny house as a way to kind of live between the law and the, what is illegal and legal. You're just playing in the middle.
There are a a lot of challenges there. Thank you so much for sharing, Bar, and thank you. I'm not sure, I see SK for name, but thank you for asking those great questions. And also for clarifying some of what we what's going on here in the States. Hopefully by the end of this meeting, we're going to have some ideas of how Bar, you and others in places where there's just a lot of roadblocks can connect, at least with tiny house, people that are doing things in other places, and get some ideas about how to move forward. So now, if that's okay, we're going to go up. We have some great stuff in the chat, by the way. So do check out the chat. I believe, yes, Will has posted some stuff about Australia. I won't read it out loud, but you can all read that. And also, I've copied it, and we will post that as part of the minutes or whatever, the record of the meeting. So got a good update there from Will. Thank you so much for that. I know there's a lot going on in Australia, and we have had also, again, in the conferences, presentations by the Australian Tiny House Association, and also by folks in New Zealand, and we have a member from Tasmania, I think. So we're kind of jumping here a little bit around. I'm going to move up now to Europe and give you an update from Guillaume, who is in France. He has Ma Petite Maison, which is his tiny house company. He has spoken at one of our conferences, and he also led the first global meeting, which was actually a Europe region meeting, which was about 6 months ago. And he sends you greetings, and they are doing some amazing things in Europe, which I hope is an encouragement to others, Bar in Israel, to others in other places as well. Of course, it's hugely encouraging to me here in the States, because they're doing some really innovative stuff. And I have posted at the very beginning of the chat, if you scroll all the way up, there are two links there, one to the Tiny Living Petition and one to the Tiny Living Alliance. Guillaume has also posted these in our discussion, so you can go and see his post in the discussion. But basically, what they're trying to do is coordinate in Europe a tiny house movement, which is both informing governments of what the vision for tiny lifestyle is, and then also engaging people in each country to commit to signing on to become active in the movement. And they actually have what they're calling a petition at this point. In American English, it might be more like what we might call a covenant, where you make an agreement that you become a part of a community, and you are then doing things. You're engaged, and you're informing your public, you're contacting your government, you're helping in various ways. So they've actually drafted the petition, and they've got members already signed from 3 or 4 European countries, including Germany, I believe, and Belgium, and I think one of the Scandinavian countries. So, all that to say that there's some pretty interesting stuff going on in Europe. If anybody has any questions, just stick them in the chat, and I will try to check those and answer them on behalf of Guillaume. He gave me a lot more information, and what we like to do is see that the other thing that we're going to do is start an international, and I think we're going to call it a manifesto, which is a statement about tiny lifestyles, which informs in a very brief, very direct way what the need is, why this is happening, and what some of the answers to that need can be through tiny lifestyles. So that's going to be the manifesto, and then also there's going to be this document that Europe is putting on, and other countries may very well be interested in that type of thing, trying to get that started. To coordinate, Bar, you mentioned it's really hard to coordinate, and that is so true. And also, it's really easy for things to get out of hand very quickly. And, you know, then without coordination, things happen that aren't very helpful. So, okay. So that's Europe. I don't think we have anybody else representing Europe with us. But what I'd like to do now is move over to Asia. And I don't know if we have any folks here. We have a number of members. I think we have people from like 5 or 6 different countries in the Asia South Pacific region. That do we have anyone representing Asia here at the meeting? Okay, I'm not hearing any response, but you know, go ahead and speak up and interrupt me or whatever if you want to. Okay. And let me just scroll down and see if there's anything in the chat about Asia. Nope, nope. Okay, so we'll hopefully have somebody at our next meeting representing some of our Asian countries. Okay, so at this point, I would like to, I had on the agenda, for those of you, we posted the agenda, and I had a couple call to actions. And I just want to mention those quickly, and then we can move on to starting to talk about how we might like to go into some breakout rooms for interests. But one of the call to actions is indeed to get a representative from each of our regions globally who is interested in kind of being the representative from that region that can come into meetings that we would have. Guillaume suggested regular meetings, for instance, smaller group meetings, and that we can then, you know, develop some of these things. They can share their petition with us. Guillaume has drafted the manifesto that I mentioned. We can work on that together and get that hopefully out there, translated into various translations. And anything else, you know, that we decide we want to do. So if you are interested in being a representative from your region, let us know, and we will definitely get in touch with you on that. Okay. I see in the chat that someone is saying thinking towards Africa with a question mark. Not sure if you would like to speak up and ask your question on that. Okay, not hearing from that individual. So here we go. We have someone for Ecuador. Great. Okay, Bar has stepped up. Thank you, Bar, for your region. Great. Okay. So yeah, just keep giving us ideas and thoughts on that. And okay, and Sammy, good. Like region. What region are you, Sammy? Representing your region. Let us know what region you are. Okay. So at this point, what we're going to do is, and I might actually turn it back a little bit if my tiny house people are still here, to talk about the possibilities for moving into breakout rooms. You know what we might do is put in the chat, what would you be interested in for a breakout discussion now to keep us together in groups that we're you know, interested in the chat, okay? I'm Seeing someone asking about the representative from the Midwest. We don't have representatives yet from the states either. So if you want to represent your region, that would be great. Topic of interest, community development, eco-conscious. Okay, can one of my tiny house support people start taking some notes about the breakout rooms? We've got a eco-conscious one. We've got a community startup one. We have someone interested in camper RV living. And we have a newbie group. We'll have a newbie group. So we've got 4 or 5 groups there already. We have a zoning interest. Loretta is madly taking notes. I can see you. Thank you. Okay, now for those of you that are interested, sustainable and affordable, I think could maybe go into the eco group perhaps. Kathy Malone is our Midwest rep. Thank you, Kathy. The rep requirements would simply be to be available to meet with others that are the representatives from the different regions and give some ideas of what's going on in your region, and also then talking. I could imagine maybe an hour a month, one meeting a month that would take an hour, and then it's really up to you what you feel your region would serve your region, and you can take it and run with it. We don't have, this is new to all of us, and we'd love to see what can come of it. So, okay. Good. All right, so it looks like we have a number of the breakout rooms. Are my tiny house breakout room people ready to start creating the rooms?
Yeah, for sure. I'll go ahead and start creating the rooms. It might take a minute, but you can keep on going and I'll type away and then we'll make it happen.
Great. Yeah, and as those of you that are familiar with Zoom know, oftentimes when we move into breakout rooms, especially for those of us that are not super familiar with Zoom breakout rooms, it takes a little time. So please be patient, okay? I hope nobody gets frustrated with it. Patience is a virtue, as we say. So, all right. We do have someone from South Africa who has posted. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is the other person that was asking earlier. Is it Snyman? If you like to speak up and say something, you're welcome to. You may not be able to, and I understand. That's fine. You would need to unmute your mic. Okay, well, if you'd like to, continue to add things to the chat, feel free. And, okay, we've got a rep for New York, which actually we may make into the Northeast. Heather, thank you for that. And topic of interest, templates to letters and petitions to go. Okay, let me speak to that, Sammy. If you look at THIA, and I meant to mention THIA, the Tiny Home Industry Association, and we'll get that in the chat. I think actually it might already be there, but we can put it in again. They have a library of resources for, I'm not sure, some kind of lobbying. Anyway, they've got a library of resources for that kind of thing. They also have 3 training sessions on legality. Anyone interested in legality and zoning, wonderful resources. It costs $25 a year to be a member. Best $25 a year in the tiny house world that you'll spend. you can find a ton more information than you can even handle on there. So that's a really great resource. Okay, I see apologies, no problem. Simon, we understand, but keep giving us your thoughts.
I'm gonna go
There
ahead
in the
and
chat.
open the rooms. Betsy, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the rooms now, just so you know. And I'm not positive what'll happen when I click this button, but everybody get ready.
Okay. Now, you have to be assigned to a breakout room. Do you guys know how to do that assigning, or is there a tech person in our gang that can help with that?
Usually you can choose, Betsy. Usually you can choose which room you can go to.
Yes, I see that, and I see the breakout rooms. Okay. Yes, if you click on your screen, click breakout rooms, and you can see there that there are 5 or 6 taken from our list, and then you can join it, and I hope then that you will just immediately go into it. So let us know here in the chat. I'll stick around here for anyone that wants to just chat generally, or ask questions generally. I'm happy to answer questions. I've lived in a tiny house for 2 years. I've been working on stuff for 4 years, so I'm happy to answer questions, but try to join a breakout room and see what happens.
Jenny, did
And
you already
go ahead.
I was asking if Jenny has already gone to a breakout room. She asked a question.
Jenny asked.
No, I haven't. I'm trying to find them. I'm on my cell phone, so.
Oh, on your cell phone. Okay, Jenny. Topic which interests me is weather, like major storms, hurricanes, tropical storms. Living in a 30-foot, that's too big to tow. What does one do? Okay, I can answer that a little bit, Jenny, because I lived in Florida for the.
Sustainability is under eco-conscious, right? Yeah, I mean, it's basically.
You have to design it
Yeah,
a
they're
certain
separating
way.
those for some reason. Oh, there's Patrick. Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Hi,
Good.
Zach.
Yeah, hi there. Hi. I can just barely see you, but awesome. There you are.
Sorry. I usually do my wallpaper just in case.
Yeah. You never know. Good,
You
good.
never know. Correct. Yes.
Cool.
Hey, Zach, how are you guys doing?
Good. How you doing, Patrick?
Excellent.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for
sorry.
sharing, Patrick, on Nicaragua. That's very enlightening.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
Seriously.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take over the. I'm too used to webinars, I guess.
No, it was great. Everybody was really interested, so I love hearing about it.
Yeah, you
Always
were
makes me
popular.
wanna- Yeah.
Well, we're lucky. We get to do a lot of fun stuff in a lot of different countries down here. So.
Yeah. Always makes me want to come visit. Someday soon, hopefully.
Oh, you're welcome
Yeah,
anytime.
time to put it on the main checklist, Zach.
Yeah, for real. Good. Well, Patrick, I know you're doing a ton of eco stuff down there. Is there anything specific? Ask for help. Somebody asked for help in a different group, but you can maybe start off by kind of talking through some of the eco-friendly stuff you're doing in down in Central America and whatnot. I'm gonna jump over because I've got a notification saying somebody asked for help, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, Corbly, how's it going?
Well, I went to 2 other breakout rooms and there was not a soul there. So now
Really?
I'm here. I was
Okay.
wondering if anything happened at all.
Well, I got a notification that you called me over, but yeah, you can at least on my computer. Are you on a computer or on a phone?
I'm on a tablet.
Okay, nice. Yeah, well, I didn't really give you that option, so that's not really acceptable. I'm just kidding. What's up, Nick? How's it going, dude?
Another day in paradise, man.
Oh yeah, brother. The beard's looking very beautiful.
You like that?
Yeah, you're trying to compete with
Like
Scott. huh?
COVID beard.
Yeah. It's looking
I
good.
just want to say hi. I'll pop into a couple other groups and see if I can answer some questions. Then I'll be back.
That sounds good. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Corbly, it might make sense to jump into a room, into another one. Like I see pretty much all the other rooms except for community startup, and this one. These are the two smallest, community startup, and then the one that we're in. But like, if you go to the newbie group, that one has, I don't know, a quick count of probably 10 plus people, 10 to 12 people.
Okay, well, I guess I go there. My interest, I guess, we're not other people's. Okay, very good. I'll go there.
Well, I'm sure other people are kind of following where other people are too, so it's just kind of tends to be that way. But yeah, you can jump into that one or into the eco-conscious. I was going to jump back into the eco-conscious one.
Okay, I'm going to go there. Thanks.
Okay, perfect.
But you have really tall mountains on your back, and you're looking at the Caribbean white sand beaches in your front, and they're right beside the beach, and looking out at Roatan, which is one of the kind of the world-class diving areas, and on the Mesoamerican reef there, and those start at I think $79,000 is, those for it's like a one bedroom. I'm going to call it about 400 square feet, 450, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has all those are hybrid, solar and grid power. I mean, if you're reasonably, good at conserving power, you probably wouldn't even spend a cent on the grid power. It would all be taken care of by the solar.
I don't like to use the AC because I don't like to be cold.
Yeah, well, I'm Canadian, so I share that sentiment. I moved down here that was probably my number one reason of moving down to the tropics. So yeah, you get
But it's very humid there, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. On the Caribbean side, it is more humid. Like if you look at our Ava community on the Pacific coast of that one's in Nicaragua, it's very dry most of the year. I mean, you have what we call the green season. You get a few months of rain, but the rain in the tropics is 15 minutes. I mean, I moved down from Vancouver Island, and that's similar to Seattle weather. Well, exactly the same as Seattle weather. So, you get 6 weeks of not seeing the sun because it's drizzling the whole time. Down here, you'll get 15 minutes of rain that probably actually has the same amount of volume of rain that the 6 weeks in Vancouver does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's over in 15 minutes, and the sun comes back out, and everything's very lush, and you can have your jungle plants around your home and everything, and so I actually like the rainy seasons down here because it's very fresh and it cools down a bit. But for me, traveling a lot down here, well, now I'm 100% acclimatized, but when I used to come down from Canada, and when I'd come down for long periods of time, it would take me, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks to really go, oh, you know what, I don't really like air conditioner on very much anymore. All right. And you do get used to it, especially the beauty of tiny homes in this area is that you're spending most of your time outdoors anyway, right? So you're really just using your bedroom and your bathroom and your kitchen, and that's kind of what we design into the homes.
As far as the eco part, if somebody's going to move down there in that area, in that eco village, are they still going to be able to get a direct connection to the internet? Because one of the companies I'm going to work for, we have to be directly connected to the internet, not Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you can. I mean, there's options. We have like the Ava community, and I actually think the Reef, which is the Honduran one. We have underground fiber optic lines in the community. You'd be surprised at these communities were originally designed to be sort of what we call digital nomad communities. So we have little areas that, there's beautiful bars and restaurant right on the beach or whatever, or, in the Ava one where a river comes in, so you can do stand-up paddle boarding or whatever, and all those things, lots of, horseback riding on the beach and all those sorts of things. But then we have a kind of a separate area that's, it's a grass hut palapa with a little, natural pool beside it. But that's really your workspace, right? And and a lot of people, these days that are kind of knowledge workers, they absolutely need, and I'm one of them. I mean, I'm all over the place in these communities, and as long as I have an internet connection, I can do my job. So, that,
And what did you
that's
call
pretty
them?
much.
Digital nomad villages or?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a few years ago, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now, but people that consider themselves digital nomads, and an average digital nomad is somebody that just realized they can work from home years ago before COVID and forced them to realize they can work from home. I mean, our communities have grown rapidly because, people were forced to realize they can just, stay home to work. A lot of people, right? And then once they did that, they realized, well, if my home here works, maybe I'm in, Boise, Idaho or something, and it works here. Well, why couldn't it work in Costa Rica or something, right?
Yeah.
So
'Cause
they realized.
I know in the US, like if you were actually living at home, you would be able to have a tax write-off. How does that work in the Honduras? So like if you're an American and working there, how does that work? Do you no longer have any business expenses because you're somewhere else?
Well, I'm not really familiar with the American tax laws, but I would think that if you're working from home, it doesn't really matter where your home is. But I mean, you're not really using office space and all those things. So I'm not sure about that though.
You may want to check with your tax accountant for that.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a ton of people. Well, there's the digital nomad side. We're getting a lot of different kinds of slices of society, however you would put it, of type of, like.
I'm talking to land out in Pennsylvania. Zoning is really tricky out here, as you guys were saying earlier. It's different by every zip code. So I've been kind of trying to find like a diamond in the rough, trying to find an affordable piece of land to build the house on. And again, I'm pretty new to this, in the beginning phases of researching and figuring this out. So if there's anyone who had any insight, I was wondering if it made sense to buy land and partner up with people who also were interested. I'm really here to kind of get any tidbits of information.
So Heather,
Try to buy land. Oh, sorry. Try to buy land that's already plumbed. That's already
right. That has a well that
has
has
sewer. Yeah, or septic.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I just spoke to an architect in this afternoon, actually, in New York, and they used to have big problems with tiny homes, but they've released all the rules so anybody can have a tiny home, because it used to be 400 square feet or bigger, but now they've eliminated them. So if you want the architect's name, I could probably get it for you and send it to you. I guess they're very knowledgeable about the rules and regs and stuff in New York.
Marilyn, could you post that in the chat? Because a number of us would be very interested in that. And when you say New York, are you talking about the state or the city?
No, I'm just looking at buying some property out there, and it's in New York. So I don't know. I'm in California. I have no idea what that is over there. So
okay. New York, it sounds like you might be talking about state level rather than New York City level. Heather, you are in New York City.
They where they work out of, they said that pretty much every county has their own rules, but he said most counties now are just released a lot of the rules, because there used to be a rule of, because I already reached out to the city planning department, and she said, well, you have to have them at least 400 square feet. And I'm going like, it doesn't make any sense what you just told me. So the gal I'm dealing with had me on the call with a group of architects who work with people doing these things. And they were saying that there's no more rules. They've kind of eliminated the rules regarding tiny houses because it's an issue for housing and all the other things they're trying to solve, right? Just like in California, there's no land in California to buy. So for what I can buy in New York is one house in California. So, anyway, I'm just doing due diligence right now. But
it does seem to be recently shifted. I know it was like under 400 square feet. Otherwise, it had to be an ADU. And so I'm also, where I am in New York, I am in the city, but we were looking out even towards Pennsylvania. I'm actually, because of work, I can't leave New York City. So I'm looking to do like a secondary Airbnb partial part-time living situation within 2 hours in New York. So that could be Pennsylvania or upstate New York. So I'm just trying to kind of garner like what would be best. I think Loretta's raising her hand. I feel like Loretta's got something hopefully, I don't know, but
It's the teacher in me. I can't help it.
I
don't
love
want
it. I love it.
too much, but if you are having trouble getting into a breakout room, if you will chat like what Heidi did, the area that you want to go, they're here to help make your dreams come true and move you to your breakout room. Okay, back to your discussion. That's all I had.
Well, actually, I have to go. I have another class after this. So, but thank you for this thing. It's been really good. Thank you.
Great. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And awesome.
Thank you for the resources that you mentioned. Really appreciate it. Heather, do you remember talking to me in the last week or so, Betsy Barbour, in the community?
Did we chat? I've been kind of feverish.
Well, no, I don't think we did, but I talked to somebody in Queens who's very interested in tiny houses. So we need to kind of try to get you connected with that person.
Okay, I don't know if I remember reaching out to you, Betsy. I've been kind of looking at land.
No, I think you did. I don't think the person was not Heather. And that's kind of a general comment for everybody, especially newbies. The best thing you can do right now, today, is to exactly what you're doing. Connect with community. Start building your network, because it's only going to help. As you start asking questions, as you start learning things, you can share, you can learn, you cannot reinvent wheels, and you can form a group, because that's one of the first things when you look at the legalizing side of it. You've got to have your stakeholders together. You've got to have people that are interested, and they're not just zoning people or real estate people. They can be the mayor, they can be whoever they are, but they're interested in the idea. They may not want to live in a tiny house. That's fine. They get the idea that it is a good solution for retirees, for workforce, for young couples, all of these different points. You start getting a hold of that kind of stuff when you start building your network. So that's just a little bit of advice there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Dan Fitzpatrick at Tiny House Industry Association has been amazingly responsive and useful in talking about zoning and giving you updates. I've had several conversations with him.
Great. That's Dan
Yes.
Fitzpatrick. Okay, great.
Yes, and I know Dan has talked to people in New York City as well. I don't think there's been a lot of success to date, but I know that he has interacted and is interested in interacting with pretty much anywhere that's open to discussion. So very good. Well, it looks like a lot of our people actually did get into breakout rooms, so that's great. Anybody that stayed here, do you have any questions or things you'd like to talk about?
I just want to say that Dan Fitzpatrick in the Tiny Home Industry Association has a great resource for starting up a tiny home village too.
Thank you, Lil B in Jacksonville. Great. And would that be on the THIA, in the THIA resources?
Yes, there's something you can print up. To me, when I printed it and looked at it, it looks like about 5 years worth of work but I might be overwhelmed. So like you say, I need to network with community, which I'm trying to do. I created a Facebook group here in Jacksonville, and I have a meeting for the last 3 weeks, but I've been the only one there. So what I've been doing, I've been playing different videos in case someone would come in and join me, but I'm going to reach out in the different tiny home Facebook groups. Some of the groups show you who lives nearby, and I have messaged maybe 10 people, and 4 of them have answered me, but then it just stops. They don't
when I try to reach out to them again, give them my phone number, they don't contact me again. So I can't give up. I just have to keep going.
Hang in there, Lil B. We did the same thing 4 years ago in Southwest Florida on the Gulf Coast. Exactly what you did. We've got over 3,000 members in our Facebook group now. And you know, those aren't all engaged tiny house people, but some of them are. And that's the Tiny House Alliance of South Florida. Certainly post there, but post pretty much anywhere. You're doing exactly the right thing, and please don't get discouraged. It does take time for sure.
And also, Lil, you could give Movable Roots in Melbourne, Florida, a phone call. Because they're tiny house builders in Melbourne, right down on the coast there, south of Jacksonville.
Thank you.
Yeah, and they also do a lot of advocating. I know they've been working with THIA in a number of different ways, and they do presentations at the conferences. So.
Oh, good. Thank you so much, Kathy. And
Nick has his hand up, and it's been up for a while as well. So as a teacher, I'd like to recognize him and say thank you for raising
Thank you. Not too long. Yeah, anyways, I just wanted to share some of the stuff that we at THIA, because I'm a board member of THIA, ATHA. I'm the owner of California Tiny House. I'm also a member of the ICC and writing all the new standard codes for basically what a tiny house would be on a foundation. I also have various other stuff, a DIY certified program for people who want to build a house and do the right steps. I also have that same business for school curriculum all over the country. But back to what THIA, excuse me, back to what THIA has actually done. I'm gonna throw this document right over my face here. Can you guys see this, or is it too far back?
Pretty small.
Is there any way to make, if you click on your Zoom meeting and make the speaker pop up, I'll just keep talking through it, and then it should be like a full screen. I think it's.
You guys unpin video, I think.
Yeah, if you go on the top to the little dots where it says view, you can just click on that and just click on the speaker, and hopefully it'll pop it up for you. But I'll show you some of the stuff, and I'll read them out too. We've done stuff in Alaska, Fresno, California, Los Angeles, California, San Diego, Santa Clara County, San Jose, Humboldt County. These are all, once again, in California. Placer County, California City, Sonoma. We're working with Santa Cruz right now. If you guys can't see this, I'll try and make it bigger. Santa Cruz right now to not only create a legal ADU situation, but also for communities and for standalone units, meaning you can buy a piece of property, put a tiny house on wheels and live in it full time. We're doing the exact same thing with Oakland, California right now, South Lake Tahoe, Richmond, Vallejo, Boulder, Colorado, Lyons, Colorado, Sussex County, Palm Bay, Florida, Brevard County, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Idaho, Montana, New Mexico, North Carolina, and the list goes on. The entire state of Maine. So we've done a ton of advocacy already, written a lot of ordinance. The man behind the curtain there is that gentleman, Dan Fitzpatrick, a lot of you guys mentioned. He and I together in 2016 wrote the very first tiny house legalization ordinance that allows you to live in a tiny house, rent a tiny house, or occupy a tiny house and rent your main house in the entire country. And shortly after, we got San Luis Obispo, LA, and a handful of others. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. And if you live in an area that doesn't have advocacy or doesn't have legislation for a tiny house, all you have to do is reach out to THIA, specifically Dan Fitzpatrick. He'll give you that little bit of homework that you can do. It's not, it's not always a 5-year process. Sometimes it can take a little bit of time, especially with bigger cities like New York. It's going to be, a long road, but it's not a lot of stuff that you have to do. It's us getting it in and then them waiting for their next code cycle. So we try and make it really easy, really user friendly. and get as many of these laws passed so that more people have places to park. And that's all I have for you today. But you can ask any questions. I'm not leaving.
Thank you so much, Nick. Really appreciate it. I'll just mention that I've been on a project for a local municipality here in Pennsylvania. We've been working on it for a little over a year. We've done all three. We've followed all three THIA legality sessions, and we've been working on a stakeholders list and building starting to build our connections. That's really probably the biggest time consumer, is just building those relationships and knowing what's going on. But please don't get overwhelmed by it. My motto is one tiny step at a time. And if you have a couple people in your group and you can each do, maybe one thing a week, literally spend a half an hour a week, all of a sudden it just does start coming together. If you take it like a chunk, it's like eating an elephant. I mean, it's not going to work. But little by little, and Nick, man, that list of what you guys have done just goes to show you, or shows to go you, as we say. It works.
Yeah, it really does. And it can be a slow process sometimes. But what we notice is that we kind of get a snowball effect. Once we get, a city like, Los Angeles, then every city around it, San Diego, Oakland, all these big municipalities go, oh, wow, LA did it? That's great. And so what we've been doing is we took that original ordinance we wrote and we started bringing it as like a ordinance for all these other municipalities. And we started kind of tweaking it to make sure that, hey, what works for us in California is not necessarily going to work for you in Pennsylvania. We realize that. How do we make it fit better in your area? And we've been very successful doing that. So not everyone's tiny friendly yet, or some people don't even know that, it's not even on their radar. So what we're really trying to push is the community to get out there, find a council member, a mayor, somebody in your area that shows an interest or that says, hey, yeah, we really want affordable housing. Boom, that's where we come in. And we've done that for the last 5 years and been very successful.
In our municipality, the mayor's grandson told his grandfather, the mayor, he wanted a tiny house to live in when he started college. So that was an open door.
No, that's the one you're looking for right there.
Okay, does anyone else have questions? Speak up, it's your turn. Okay, this might be a good time for, I see one of our wonderful tiny house folks, founder folks. You want to talk a little bit about conference and encourage everybody to come to it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited about it. It's again going to be one of the most amazing events, and we're super glad because it brings the community together. Obviously these type of meetups are great because we're able to kind of further the movement and kind of catch up and check out how other people are doing it a little more intimate, whereas it's definitely more on a macro scale, bringing the whole globe together really in the big conference, and getting a lot of the great speakers who are able to update us kind of like they did super briefly here, but a lot more people from everywhere. And so we're really excited for that. Yeah, and so we've obviously had a couple of the different speakers already kind of given a brief update here, which is cool to see. And just like Nick was showing us with everything that's going on with that THIAs, all the laws THIAs getting passed here and everything. So there's a lot of great things that are going on behind the scenes, definitely. Yeah, and
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a question from Joe about San Jose. Nick, might you have some information on San Jose?
Of course. What's up, Joe?
I'm not sure he can unmute. He says, I'm having difficulty finding local tiny house groups here in San Jose. Any suggestions? Oh, there, he's unmuted.
Oh, hi there. Yeah, thank you for the group. The this is my first time. So I've been planning my tiny house for over a year. I'm a high-tech worker in the Silicon Valley area. So I'm plugged in technically, but nobody seems to know what a tiny house is. So I'm looking for local groups and I'm not sure where to start.
What I would do is I would reach out to THIA. They have a huge network of members. But otherwise, I mean, California, because they're really like centered around big cities. I would almost guess that there's one in the San Jose area. I'd be surprised if there wasn't.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure, so I don't want to tell you a lie and say that there is. But you can either reach out to me directly or you can reach out to THIA. They'll be more than happy to put you in contact with some like-minded people. Or if you just have general information about San Jose, you can just call me direct. I know probably everything. So I can definitely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nick, is THIA just focused on America, just USA, or is THIA outside of USA at all?
Technically it's like a North American thing, but it doesn't mean that we have, members in Australia and Peru and, a bunch of different other countries. However, most of the advocacy that we do is focused around the United States, because that's where most of the association members are. But we're all passionate about the industry and about moving things forward. I think if you came from another country and wanted help, they're all nice people. We're all out there to help one another. I don't see anybody, scoffing or turning their shoulder just because you're not from the United States. I know for a fact that we work with Canada all the time, which once again, North America, but yeah, they're all a great group of people. More than happy to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and THIA also have a free community that you can join once you're a member. I mean, that's a $25 a year for membership. But the question was, Nico said, I joined THIA and I paid, but they didn't ask for a username or email. I would say, Nico, maybe go back into the website and go for their contact us and just send an email and try to get some connection there. Nick, do you have any other suggestion?
That's not really my wheelhouse in the THIA group. I'm more director of, vocational education.
Yeah, and I know also you guys have just kind of changed your structure for contact and kind of customer service. So Nico, there might have been a little blip there, but hopefully, they'll respond or you can get back in there for sure.
Okay, Betsy, thanks. I will contact them. Okay, thanks.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and you can message me direct and I can send you someone's email and tell them they need to, call you or something.
Awesome. That's great. I see Kay from Precision Temp on here. How's it going, Kay? You're on the East Coast, right? Oh, you're
muted.
Oh, I was just Ohioing because Ohio.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cincinnati.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Something new with Precision Temp is for communities, they now have natural gas units as well as propane units.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, a lot of people are wanting to know that now, especially with more communities coming on. So
yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And if anybody is looking to get a water heater, we'd recommend Precision Temp. And also you can jump into here and we have a little, you can save $50 with our code with them. So I'll post that there if anybody's looking for a water heater. But thanks, Kay. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thanks, Loretta. I liked your message earlier. That was great. Anytime. We're always happy to answer questions too.
I hope everybody that's new is getting the idea that those of us that have been around just a little bit, we're happy to answer questions. So reach out and we'll get back to you, or we'll find the answer for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody's looking to jump into a breakout room or anything, I'm more than happy to send them there. Just let me know which group you'd like to join in. It seems like people are kind of grouping into a couple of the groups. So even though there's like 7 groups available, only like 4 of them have people in it. So yeah, but just message me.
So time-wise, it's coming up to 7:30. We scheduled to 8, and I'll be here till 8. As long as there are people that want to talk or have questions. Would anybody like to share? If there's no questions right this minute, would anybody particularly like to share something they're excited about, what they've done with their tiny house, or what they want to do and they are so excited to talk about? Feel free.
Well, okay. I'd be delighted.
Communicate with other, the expat communities that are here, but also with the locals, which makes it quite easy, comfortable, and familiar for people that are looking to either live full time, but also, for tourists that come, they're coming to a third world country, but adding that level of comfort and being able to speak the language of the locals is something that people want to know before they get there.
Yes. And is that the same in the other communities or similar?
I mean, obviously the rest of the countries in Latin America speak Spanish as their first language, but English is very prevalent in all of them. My wife is from Ecuador. She laughs at my Spanish because it still sucks, but despite the fact that I've been down here for a long time, but I get by just fine. And there's always a lot of people around that are either bilingual or speak English or obviously, if I go, I've spent decades now going into little villages in Central America and using hand gestures and whatever I can to get my point across. And it's fun. I find it interesting, and the people are super friendly, and they just love if you try. I mean, I've had experiences in European countries that speak other languages where if you don't speak their language, they kind of like turn their nose up at you and walk away.
Frown upon, right? And that's not the case.
That's not Latin America. Latin America is extremely friendly, family oriented. Always trying to help, and especially if you try, like if you're trying, learn 10 Spanish words and string them together, you're doing great, and they'll be very excited.
So, Ali, can I ask you a question? You've got ECI development on your name tag there. You guys do community development?
Yes, correct. Yep. And so, Patrick and with Eco Villages works really closely with us. And I'll let him speak to that and what that relationship looks like. But we are the development company here in the region. So we are the ones that, along with Patrick, through the design process and the whole development aspect of building these communities, because you really want that community to bring people together. And so in Nicaragua, here in Belize, Panama, soon to be Costa Rica, Mexico. So we are building the communities, and Patrick's, he's got his website, his avenue to be able to distribute that information to people that are in this tiny home movement.
Yeah, so I noticed my son who just joined here, and him and I have Eco Villages. This is the company that does the design, the conceptual designs of these communities, and then we work with ECI, which is the regional company that does all the development, has the construction, makes everything happen, the hospitality, all that rental stuff we were talking about earlier. So I work on both companies, and kind of glue the things together and make sure everything's going on. And And so, yeah, Ellie and I and Spencer in this group all work together.
Okay, that's great, because that's kind of my interest, because I do community development as well. And I'm
Oh,
trying to do an eco-conscious community, sustainable community in New Mexico to pilot. We're piloting it here, but our intent is to grow it globally.
Great.
And it's very much, it's kind of a scalable mixed use, live, work, play community is how it's being designed at the moment. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's nice to know that you guys are out there as well. So, and I'm trying to do this kind of a hybrid of scalable housing, tiny homes, community development with some vertical farming in it, some underground data centers, and modular clinics.
Do you have a website link that we could?
Yes,
go
I
to?
do.
Can you put it
It's
in the
called
chat?
corecommunityhousing.com.
Can you put it in the chat?
Sure. And right now we were approved. We've got a 30-acre land in New Mexico that we're going to develop. So we've been approved for that mixed use.
Annie, what type of eco features will you be incorporating into your communities?
Well, renewable energy, alternative energy. I was just going to ask Patrick and Allie what kind of power storage you guys are utilizing. You may not need it because Nicaragua and Belize there's a lot of sunshine out there. So you could literally be off the grid. But yeah, so renewable energy, as well as I've got a company that I'm working with who just patented a thermal energy waste converter. So all waste will be converted into energy. So there is nothing that's going to go to waste, and we will solve the landfill problems.
Okay, so you're talking like garbage waste, essentially.
Garbage waste, you know, and then we will be recycling the water, the gray water.
Sewage waste.
And we actually have a company out of Florida who will take liquid waste and convert it into drinking water.
Annie, that's amazing, especially about the landfills.
Yep. So the thermal energy, it's called TEC, and it's already been patented by some scientists and engineers. So I'm working with a group here in New Mexico who will do that. And the capacity is, and the footprint on doing that is just like a truck size, like a 40-foot container to do the conversion. So a 15-ton or a 25-ton. But every single waste will be converted into something else useful. So we're really trying to develop this community, and I'm sticking to communities that are under 50 acres. I don't want to go any bigger than 50 acres at a time, because I think that keeps it nice and small. It's big enough, let me put it that way.
Yeah, and how many houses will be on that community?
Right now, we're looking at mixed use, so we're looking at it from units perspective and occupancy perspective, and not houses, because it could be retail, it could be commercial, it could be homes. It's a live work, so you could be working and living in that same community. We're looking at right now probably potentially for one level 3,000 units.
Wow.
On a 30-acre piece of land.
Yeah.
So if we do multi-level, we could potentially expand this to 9,000, as much as 9,000 units.
Yeah.
In a 30-acre land.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I was gonna say, depending on how many units are on there, it probably makes some of the eco technology, you know, the recycling technology a little bit price inhibitive, but with that many units, it probably makes a lot more sense. So.
And I found a company that will do the units as a scalable units, 400 square feet, 300 square feet, 200 square feet. So you can mix and match those and configure them any way you want to.
That's great. And is it all going to be built on site, or is it going to be, okay.
It'll be on site. New Mexico will be the pilot, but then eventually we will create out of this pilot, we will create a playbook out of it, and then we will roll it out globally.
That's really cool. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I've actually got the rendering, the architecture rendering on the website, and some pictures and some ideas at least. We haven't made a final decision as to who our vendors will be, but we're partnering with vendors that are also very much eco-conscious. And so some of the units are environmentally indestructible, shall we say? So they can weather the storms and weather conditions, right? And vertical farming, I'm also looking at vertical farming. Every 40-foot container can produce an output of as much as 5 acres on a 40-foot container. So that's kind of the numbers. So it's very good. This concept is very new in real estate. I don't think it's ever been done to this scale, but I'm going to attempt to do it.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So the concept is kind of like tiny house, but maybe a little bit more because the units can also be portable. They can be shipped. They can be, in other words, the one vendor I'm working with is, he says, we're ready to drop it. If you're ready, we drop it. It can be hooked up in 2 hours, in less than 4 hours. So it's kind of ready, turnkey ready for those units. And they're a company out of California, Torrance, California, and they manufacture here in USA, and they don't outsource it. It's all here. So there's a lot of exciting things. I'm waiting for the first $1.5 million funding the first week of September.
It all sounds very cool. Hey
Yeah.
guys, I'm gonna have to bow out. I know Ellie and Spencer are on here so they can answer anything I can. So thank you very much for everybody's time. I
Well,
appreciate
I'm
it.
gonna have to go too. Unfortunately, I have to move on to my next meeting, but yeah, thank you guys.
All right, Spence, if you can
Thank you,
stay on,
guys.
great. If not, well, you guys, can send emails to info at ECI Development or info at Eco Villages, and we'll get back to you.
Thank
So info at ECI Development.
Info
put
at
it in the chat.
ecidevelopment.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Patrick.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So yeah, so I'm probably gonna have to cut out as well in about 10 minutes because I've got someplace else to go myself, but yeah. So I was interested in kind of learning the development from Ellie and Patrick's perspective, because we're trying to slot even a section of the 30 acres into tiny home mobility for people who are more fluid and more, right, transient, if you will. I don't want to say the word transient, but temporary. You're on mute, Zach. I can't hear you. So Zach, if you're trying to say something, repeat, please.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Great.
Yeah, so for some reason my computer glitched out and so my screen disappeared, so I can't see anything that's going on. I can't select it, but so I can't even see. I'm trying to I guess debug that right now. I'll you guys can just keep on going and I'll try to like refresh my screen or something. We'll make something happen.
Is there anyone here who can speak to financing, or is everybody gone from ECI?
Allie's still here.
I can stay here for about one more.
Oh, you cut out. There
Yeah, I
you
was
go.
talking away. We do have financing available through a bank that we have partnered up with here in Belize, but that can help finance in any of our communities across the region here. So opportunity of funding, financing either 50% or 80% is available.
And that is, so it's one bank for all financing, correct?
Yes, and you, I mean, of course, you're able to, try to find funding there if you, have somebody there
Sure.
that you
What's
work
the
with.
bank?
But
what is the bank called?
It's called Key, CAYE Financial Center, or Key International Bank.
I'm so sorry. Can you spell it again?
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Key, like CAYE.
CAYE.
Mm-hmm. And you should be able to find it under Key Financial Center or Key International Bank.
And when they finance them, it's usually not home rates, right? It's usually